Un rifiuto, chikara ni kaero, Kenzen Robo Daimidaler. Hey guys, Roger here. I'll be starting my first opinion piece in a new series called Indefensive, in which I'll be talking about shows I enjoy that aren't terribly well received, and why I find them enjoyable. In this series, I'll try my best to not go into major spoilers, and I can guarantee you there won't be any big spoilers in this piece. Today I will be talking about Kenzen Robo Daimidaler. This series is directed by Tetsuya Yanagisawa, famous for the High School DxD anime series, as well as Studio TNK. This studio not only made High School DxD, but also School Days. The studio already bears a lot of negative acclaim for making a series as near universally reviled like School Days. However, the negativity didn't stop with Daimidaler. Daimidaler was considered by most to be a terrible series, and by some to be the worst show of spring of 2014, and one of the worst series from 2014 in general. This was due to its heavy amounts of fan service, as well as what many consider to be an idiotic plot and bad characters. I don't consider myself to be one of the show's detractors, as I see it to be an enjoyable, if heavily flawed series. For starters, let me get one thing straight about the show. It is clearly a parody as well as a tribute to Mecha. Many of the show's detractors still seem to take the show way more seriously than they should have. The series makes itself very clear that it is not to be taken seriously, what with the intentionally bad mecha designs and outright silly premise. Yes, there are a lot of ecchi moments, however, that is also part of the parody. Quite a few mecha shows, such as Code Geass and Valvrave, have a lot of perverted moments that seem out of place with the show. Viewing it as a parody, I think it works decently. The show does pay tribute to a lot of the famous scenes in mecha series. One in particular that I noticed was how, near the end of one episode, they had actually made a nice nod to the famous Zabi speech in the original Mobile Suit Gundam. Or during the second half of the show, where they clearly paid homage to super robot shows like Gunbuster and Gurren Lagann, or even Kazuo being a nod to overbearing leaders such as Gendo Ikari from Neon Genesis Evangelion. Those tribute moments work, as it makes the show a lot more dynamic, and it also has the show do more with its premise. One other thing I like is that the show's power-ups, the high aero particles, are not as simple or as stupid as people make them out to be. Many people criticize the show's high aero particles, claiming them to be juvenile, as they believe the main character gets powered up from groping women. While there's some truth to it, the high aero particles aren't quite that simple. The high aero particles come from intense amount of excitement, not simply being groped. They are only used that way due to circumstance because the main character is a pervert. This does end up making sense if you analyze the series, as you'll notice that when Koichi constantly gropes Kyoko, it stops becoming exciting, leading to a lack of high aero particle production. Also, Kiriko explains in episode 6 that she had been receiving random high aero particle power-ups during class that she was trying to hide. No one was groping her during class, she was just feeling a lot of excitement, none of which was implied to be sexual in the slightest. This show actually does manage also to explain further the ins and outs of the high aero particles themselves, as well as how they affect the characters. But I think the fact that the high aero particles aren't inherently perverted, but rather it is due to the nature of the characters that makes the high aero particles what they are, it makes the show's writing a lot less juvenile. I think people also tend to forget how clever the show can get, and that it's not just a bunch of sexual content on screen. For example, one episode the main protagonists are looking up the Penguin Empire's website, and they encounter heavy amounts of pop-ups and viruses. Also, how the Penguin Empire is politely handing out pamphlets to the townsfolk in order to get people to subscribe to their agenda. Or even how the different mechs the penguins send out are named after different species of penguin, such as Macaroni and Humboldt. You do get a sense the show is doing more than just simply making another dumb ecchi series with these kinds of neat jokes and tidbits. The music is awesome, with large amounts of epic tunes being played during battle sequences, as well as one of the best opening themes I've heard, performed by Masaki Endo. The ending theme is also cute and charming. The voice acting is over the top and hammy, perfectly fitting for the show in question. I am hoping the dub, when it eventually comes out, delivers as well, but I can't guarantee that at this point in time. I also think the characters are humorous and interesting. I think that in spite of the fact that some of them can be pretty dang one-dimensional, I find the teams of Koichi and Kyoko, as well as Kiriko and Shoma, to be fun to watch, even if they can also get a bit grating at times. I really think the Penguin Empire is what really makes the show as enjoyable as it is, though. You do get a sense that, in spite of how stupid, perverted, and incompetent they are, they do care for each other and look out for each other as a family. Though it is done a bit simplistically, I'm surprised that what one may consider to be a lowbrow type of show would have antagonists that aren't really quite antagonists. There are parts of the show where you would find yourself rooting for the Penguin Empire more than the Daimidaler team, and the show points that out to the audience. Now, I can't fully defend the show, however, as it does have numerous, and I mean numerous, problems. The writing can get very convenient at times, the jokes don't always hit the marks, and one does need to remember that this is still an ecchi show. It sometimes can go way too far with the fan service, leaving me sometimes absurdly cringing at the show, and wondering why I'm defending it in the first place. The animation wasn't all too great either, but it was passable. I also found that the Penguin Empire really lacked motivation for wanting to take down the Daimidaler team, as we never really get a clear-cut reason. Now, even with all those large problems, I still find myself kind of liking Daimidaler. It is no deep masterpiece, but as a parody of mecha, it's not too bad, and certainly not one of the worst anime of last year. I don't know if I'd be able to recommend it, because I can't guarantee you'll find it enjoyable. That being said, I would still recommend it anyway, just because of how much fun I had with it. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, as well as subscribe. I hope to give you more good content in the future.